What's going on there, folks? Good afternoon, good morning to some out there, and also good evening to those in different parts of the world here. It is the Earthmaster here on this Tuesday, November 29th, 2022. It's about 11:30 a.m. California time. Taking a look at the latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe. Shows a 1.7 up into Alaska. Also quite a bit of earthquake activity continuing to ramp up on the big island of Hawaii. Mostly right around the summit area of Mauna Loa. That's going to be an ongoing case here for a little while, I have a feeling. It looks like over the last 24 hours, specifically around Mauna Loa summit, 117 earthquakes, with the largest magnitude, a 3.5. Now, I could have swore a 4.0 came in, but that looks like that was a little bit further south near Pahala. It doesn't look like it affected anything around the Mauna Loa area summit, but either way, activity continuing to build up there in on the big island. The latest activity here from the USGS, this is the hazard notification system for volcanoes in regards to Mauna Loa, which is still currently erupting. This update was put out just a little bit ago, looks like just a few minutes ago, Hawaii time. The northeast rift zone, by the way, current alert level is warning and aviation code is red, obviously. The northeast rift zone eruption of Mauna Loa continues with several fissures and lava flows being active. Several lava flows are traveling in a northeast direction. Looks like the longest and largest lava flow is issuing from fissure number 3. This lava flow crossed the Mauna Loa Weather Observatory Road at approximately 8 p.m. yesterday evening. And as of today, the flow front was located approximately 6 miles from Saddle Road at 7 a.m. this morning. Looks like fissures are, far as fissure number 3, fountains are up to about 82 feet. Let's see, this morning fountains at fissure 3 are up to 25 meters, 82 feet, and fountains are fissure 4. Huh, okay. I thought it was just me, but looks like they left out some a little bit of info there. Which formed at approximately 7:30 p.m. HST last night. Okay, there we go. It looks like about 16 to 33 feet tall. There is no active lava within the caldera itself, and there is no lava erupting from the southwest rift zone. All lava flows are on the northeastern flank of Mauna Loa, and doesn't look like they expect any eruptive activity outside the northeast rift zone for now. No property is currently at risk. There is visible gas plumes from the erupting fissure fountains and lava flows, with the plume primarily being blown to the north. So things still pretty active. A lot of information here. If you're on the Big Island, you can find out well, VOG information, and that's got to do with the emissions produced here from the volcano. Not going to jump into that, but there's also a lot of other stuff here as far as maps and the direction of movement of the lava. Pretty active night. I did see some cool images there floating around on the social media page. See if we can bring that up here real quick. Let's go over here to Volcano Hazards, and of course Mauna Loa out here in the Pacific. Looks like who knows how long this is going to last. Definitely will be very interesting to watch and see how it plays out. See what we got for photos and videos here. November, it looks like this was put out here the 28th. Of course, we checked these out last night. There's a lot of images out here. That would be awesome to see firsthand. But unfortunately, I'm watching from the West Coast, probably the safest spot. But it is pretty neat to see. Haven't seen this since 1984. So a lot of time has passed since the last eruption here of the volcano. Let me check out the... stand by for a second here. Let me go back to the site. I want to check out some of these seismograph stations around the summit area. And it looks like here's past 24 hours. Stand by for a second. Let me get that thing to pop up. 24 hours of activity. Still shows quite a bit of earthquake activity ramping up there around Mauna Loa. Of course, what I count, over 100 and something earthquakes in the last 24 hours. Not really seeing anything far as drastic goes, far as uptick Mostly everything's been stable, well, not stable, but continuing as is overnight. And, just kind of keeping an eye on potential any new fissures opening up around the region, maybe possibly downslope. We'll definitely watch that pretty closely and see how it plays out. There is quite a few different webcams and whatnot that you can check out. There's the Caldera webcam looking towards the northeastern flank of Mauna Loa. Got a couple different thermal cams here. The caldera itself, again, that's not, the eruption's not happening right there at the caldera. There's no lava anyway. And some of these look like they're old. This here is from Mauna Kea. Now, this might be a pretty cool site to check out at nighttime to see that lava flow coming down the northeastern side of Mauna Loa right there at night. Probably going to be pretty spectacular. So, may switch that up a little bit later on the live stream. Pretty cool. It's a little distant, but you can kind of see a good overview of where they're at. And at night, again, this should be lighting up pretty nicely. All right, let's see. What else do we have here in regards to Mauna Loa? Like I say, just kind of keeping an eye on things and checking for possibly any migration of these quakes, which would indicate some maybe some new locations as far as the new fissures opening up. But for now, just confined there to the northeastern rift zone. Down here in Pahala, of course, we had that 4-pointer overnight, and some continual activity down here in this area, which is it's been ongoing for quite a while. In fact, since the 60s, that pretty good swarm of activity has been going. All right, let's see. Let's jump away from Hawaii for a little bit. Got some movement down here in Southern California, just off the San Andreas fault zone. Now, this is a southern segment. Not a big earthquake, 2.3, but when I start seeing some earthquakes up and down the this plate boundary, this is the area that hasn't seen any activity as far as large-scale activity goes in, well, over 300 years. This is where the 8-pointer is going to hit the southern branch here. That's what everybody's been saying. I remember hearing about it when I was a kid. But it's, man, eventually it's going to happen. So when I see these little earthquakes very close, talking within a mile or so of the southern branch of the San Andreas fault, I get a little nervous. But for now, just one little earthquake at 3.1 kilometers deep. No swarming going on currently around it, but keeping an eye on it. Some further movement up and down these fault systems here in Southern Cal. The rest of the state doesn't look like we've seen any major uptick last night. We do have a little bit of activity northwest of Las Vegas. This area has been swarming off and on throughout the year. No major quakes. There are some fault systems that run throughout here. Nevada is riddled with massive amounts of faults all over the place. So swarms are very, very common out there. 3.1 coming in late last night off the coast of Petrolia, down at the southern end here of the Gorda Plate. That's going to be where this little blue circle is. Not a big earthquake, but did have some movement there last night. Up into the Pacific Northwest, not a whole lot going on. Looks like we had a couple small microquakes outside of Yakima. A little bit of swarming. Well, I wouldn't say swarming, just a couple small earthquakes there overnight. Throughout the Alaska region here, looks about the same as we did last night as well. Through the Cook Inlet area, quite a bit of earthquakes stretching up towards Denali. No major earthquakes yet, but still watching this region here, possibly for some activity along the subduction zone. All right, let me switch back over here so I don't forget about the rest of the states. Yellowstone over here. Looks like a 1.5 and a 1.3, one overnight and one this morning time frame. Now, let me pull up the Yellowstone thumbnails, and I still can't figure out what these readings were from last night. There was a sequence of little earthquakes or something going on here in this type of fashion for a little while, and it did show up across some other stations here around the vicinity of Maple Creek, even here around Mary Lake. So I'm not 100% certain if it was actually earthquake activity or what it was, but it showed up on quite a few stations over here. Doesn't look like it's some network interference, like a system-wide signal. It just looks rather odd, so I'm Still uncertain as to what it was. As far as earthquake activity goes, though, this morning looks pretty calm. Just a couple handful, well, a small handful of microquakes across the area. Very small quakes. Not even showing up there on the USGS map. So, all right, earthquake activity further south in Utah, north of Salt Lake City. Things still kind of ongoing. The last earthquake there was about 3 o'clock in the morning near Corrine, Utah, a 1.2. All right, down in Texas, most of the activity here from yesterday, about 1:40 in the morning. That was a 3.1, just outside of Pecos, Texas area. And up in Oklahoma, I believe this movement here is from last night. Looks like we did have one more, a little 1.6 there in the Minco, Oklahoma area, just southwest of the OKC region. Arkansas, got one earthquake out here. I was coming in just after midnight near Lynn, Arkansas, 1.5. Just shy of the New Madrid seismic zone. Not a whole lot going on there today. No further earthquakes to report. Up against the Appalachian Mountains, yeah, we got a little bit of activity north of Knoxville. And what is that, Cawood? I think that's how you pronounce that. 2.0, Kentucky. Never been to Kentucky. Be kind of cool to go check out. Yeah, a little bit of activity up here against the Appalachian Mountains. Very small, 2.0 and a 2.2. Rest of the eastern portion of the country, pretty quiet. And I say that because a lot of the seismograph stations are quiet. I'm not really seeing any earthquake activity out there at all across the region. Puerto Rico area, got the southwestern portion here swarming once again, and it's confined mostly to that area. No unusual activity around the eastern section here of the Caribbean plate. Over here around the Middle America Trench, off the coast of El Salvador and Guatemala, got some activity kicking up after midnight, quite a few 4s. And on the earthquake 3D globe here, let's pop this up, take a look at this. Also seen some activity a little bit further south into the Costa Rica area, it looks like, with some 3s and whatnot for that area. There was a 4.0 that kicked up here off the coast of Baja California area. Now, USGS is not reporting it. It looks like that came in overnight sometime. But, you know, stuff like this is what I look for, very close to the Southern California area. And when they leave off an earthquake like that, it kind of irritates me because it would kind of show the general pressure gradients out here along this area of the state, along this area of the plate boundary. And we're seeing it around the San Andreas fault today. So I kind of wish they would throw that 4-pointer up there. But, hey, I'm not in charge of them, so I really can't tell them what to do, right? South America region, got a couple small earthquakes, it looks like, some 3s and some 4s down there as well. Kind of quiet, though, for the most part, looks like today in that region. Western Pacific, about the same. Got a 5.0 over here on the northwestern corner here of the Filipino plate. That's just off the coast of Japan. The rest of the Western Pacific plate looks awfully quiet. Now, down here in New Zealand, things are kind of kicking up overnight. Let's go down here to New Zealand area. Still watching the zone. We have been seeing a swarm of earthquakes over here into the Kermadec Trench over the last week, and I think it's even gone back further than that. Last 30 days of activity shows a specific swarm here with a little bit of subsequent activity up here at the surface at the subduction zone. The last one in this surface area was a 5.2 coming in late last night, but since then we did have some further activity just a little bit further north. But watching this area specifically with all that those 5s and 4s that have been kicking off over the last few days. Rest of New Zealand down here. Let me check out the GeoNet servers here real quick and see what we have. I'm going to go all magnitudes here. Looks like light earthquake 2.9 about 2 hours ago. That one coming in about 15 kilometers deep. North Island, New Zealand region. Nothing major popping off. Most of these are all microquakes, which is fairly common for this area. All 2s. We did have a 3.7 north here of the North Island, about 195 kilometers deep. All right, let's go get back here to the USGS map. Yeah, so watch this area. It's it's kind of creeping down there a little bit as far as the earthquake movement goes. And the closer it gets to this area, I think the more likelihood of seeing somewhat of a larger quake here soon. 5.1 yesterday in the Indonesia area. Since then, we've seen not a whole lot overnight. Most of these here from late yesterday in the day. A couple fours. Over here around the Java Trench area, that one 4.7 at 6 o'clock this morning time frame. Northern end of the Java Trench. And as we look up north here, Afghanistan, Western China, all this activity here from yesterday. And same for the earthquake there in Greece. Let me double check the earthquake 3D globe here because just kind of have to do that. Kind of have to. Seen a couple fives out there. The Atlantic Ocean. Most of the activity here around the Mediterranean area and the Turkey area. Let's see, where was that at? Let me take a look here. I know Western Turkey had quite a bit of activity, but this is kicking up around the Athens area. Greece with that 5.0. It almost looks like there's a little bit of migration of quakes here to the west. We'll have to watch that a little bit further. But those are quite a few twos and some threes here as well, following that 5-pointer. Let's see what else we have. There's the fives in the Atlantic. Did the USGS report those? Yes, they did. Near the Wreck James Ridge, 5.3 and a 5.1. A couple divergent boundaries out here. This area, when was it? Last month or the month before, had a pretty good swarm. Probably about 80 earthquakes or so of magnitude 4s and 5s. So it kind of looks like it's kicking up out there again. Further down south as well, near the Azores. That was from last night. South Sandwich Trench here, pretty quiet. So definitely a couple areas to watch right now, folks, with that 4-pointer off the Baja California area not showing up, but it was there on the map, or at least on the globe, is Southern California. Watch this area pretty closely here. Not seeing any major swarms, but noticing some increasing activity around the plate boundary. And that's the San Andreas Fault. And also down here around the Kermadec Trench with that little migration of fives scooting down towards the North Island, New Zealand. For now, the Pacific northwestern corner of it looks quiet, but can't discredit further activity here as well. Last week we did see some 4s and 5s up and down the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, but that was about it. Now it's gone awfully quiet. Let's see, tremor map along the Cascadia last night was only about 6 epicenters there of tremor. Nothing major going on whatsoever with that. And we're going to check out the volcanic seismicity map here around Mount Rainier. See what we have here for any activity. Just to double check, right? I always like to double check these live seismographs and make sure that they are operational for one, and then also check for unusual activity. And a couple of earthquakes out there, and it's still quite a few very small microquakes. These are extremely small, but definitely still active out there, I would say, as far as microquakes at Mount Rainier. No harmonic tremor, no volcanic unrest here. Just a couple very small quakes. Some of those could be ice or snow. A lot of times they do leave these type of readings very thin, spiky, and small readings like that. I notice that a lot on Yellowstone in the wintertime, and I'm sure they're going to get quite a bit of snow. Here in California, we're expecting quite a bit of snow as well. Not in the valley, but thankfully in the mountains where we need it the most. And some rainfall here in the valley as well. So I'm expecting about 2 inches or so coming up throughout the week and weekend. All right, space weather activity. There is that G1 storm forecasted for the December 1st time frame. That's going to be some high-speed solar wind charged particles that have been flowing from this coronal hole, 51, that has been facing us. It is now kind of rotating off the center disk here, away from the Earth, but still those charged particles are en route to the Earth, and they will provide us with a potential G1 storm on the first time frame. 60% chance of storming at the higher latitudes, with 25% chance there for the mid. So we'll watch that pretty closely. Still seeing unsettled conditions here over the last couple nights, and it looks like the next couple nights as well, with 50% chance across the board there of auroras at the higher latitudes. I know Alaska has been seeing some, Canada as well, and looks like Greenland and Iceland will be potentially in there as well. There's an image from Greenland, looks like, of the auroras. Beautiful area and beautiful skies. Absolutely stunning, to say the least. Let's see what else we got. Looks like a little flare popped off here. Looks like a sea flare. Not for certain where that came from. Let's see. Possibly from one of these far side sunspots. I don't believe it was one of the one that's Earth directed right now. Again, these flares can be picked up even though they're not facing Earth. The instruments there on those spacecraft satellites or whatever up there do pick up the data pretty nicely. And I don't think we have a any type of threat from 3152. It's looking pretty stable in the magnetic structure there of the field. Pretty, it's calm. Not a whole lot going on. So I'm thinking maybe over here is where that sea flare came from. Looks a little bit dynamic, but it's hard to tell, and definitely not going to affect Earth whatsoever. And behind the bend here, northeastern limb looks pretty calm. There's not a whole lot of potential there of sunspot activity. So we're going to be entering into another quiet spell, at least for the sunspots. But we do have the G1 class storm to look forward to around the first time frame. Detailed forecast there. Looks like late in the day, UTC day. So 18 to 24 is going to be afternoon time frame, and potentially early evening. So we'll definitely wait for that and see if that gets adjusted or updated. Let's see what else we got. I think that's about it, folks. Again, live stream is up and running. Had to take it down temporarily because this program right here, the Earthquake 3D program, decided to freeze up on me again and basically uninstall itself. And that's the second time it's done that. And I'm not for certain why it's doing that, or if there's maybe a back door. You know, that back door where somebody can come through and mess with someone's computer. I've had that idea in my head for a long time, and I think it's possible. I just don't know how they're doing that. And I know it's completely illegal, so that's not a good thing to do. But either way, it's back up and running. It's just little bumps and little areas that I come across where things just freeze up like that. That's about the only program that freezes up. So maybe there's just a bug or an issue in it. But all right, guys, have a good day. Got 1.4 coming into California. Like I say, watch this area. It's definitely noteworthy to watch here today. And of course, Mauna Loa, we do have the live view up, looking at the caldera, and over there towards the north, well, over to the right side of the image, you guys can kind of see the smoke there from one of the fissures and the lava. I may switch this image over to the Mauna Kea, or at least the Mauna Kea webcam looking towards the northeast rift zone of Mauna Loa. I think it gives us a little bit better overview, but we'll see how it goes. We'll maybe play around with it a little bit and try a couple different images, but I think it's pretty cool to watch this right now. You know, 1984, a lot has happened. I don't know about you, but a lot has happened since 1984, and it's pretty cool to see. You know, it's definitely one to remember, and I think it's just getting started. I don't think this is all it's going to do. I think things are going to advance here, and we'll watch it pretty closely for any signs of it getting more active. All right, guys, have a good day. Have a good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at. We will be back a little bit later tonight. Till then, stay safe and sane. We'll chat you guys a little bit later. Peace out.